It's Deconverted Man time to talk about the skeptical series that Pastor's done and why he's wrong about pretty much everything he's said so far. So he's finishing up his strawmaning of the East. It's almost time to bring on the Jews. I can't wait to see how many strawmans he constructs there. If you don't remember last time, Pastor was complaining about Hindus and other Eastern religions and saying that they don't explain the life and resurrection of Jesus as if they would even have known about that during the time that Jesus was supposedly doing those things. Hinduism is far older than Christianity. They're over here. Christianity's over here. Well, it's not even started yet because Jesus is still doing his thing. They haven't heard about what's going on over there. Why would they say anything about it? But Pastor wants to, I guess, is hoping that his audience is not thinking about that and instead thinking about the present day where the Hindus now are aware to some extent of Jesus. And, well, they just don't explain his resurrection. So of course, that means that they're getting it wrong. Hello, unfollower person. Hello. Okay. That's my hi to the chat. Now I'm going to ignore chat and listen to the video and then complain about it. All right, here we go. Whee!
Jesus didn't just make claims. Anybody could make claims. For thousands of years, religious people have made claims. I can make claims. But Jesus backed up his claims by being raised from the dead.
And it really perplexes me how this is a solution to telling if somebody is being honest or not. Well, they came back from the dead, so they can't possibly be lying. Like, there's been people that have come back from what we call dead. And so does that mean that they weren't lying? Like, let's say they said something right before they basically died on the OR table, and then they came back, and it's like, well, I guess the thing that you said, it can't be a lie, you know. I was like they're on court for murder, and they're a mobster. It's like, yeah, and that guy right there, yeah, he's the one that got me. And then like somebody shoots, and it's insane, and they're rushed to the hospital, and it's like, and then he comes, and he's like, he's dead. We've declared him dead, and all he sits up, he's like, I ain't dead yet. Oh, he's not dead. Oh, he must have been telling the truth. It must have been the guy that he was pointing at in the courtroom. That must have been the true culprit. Well, we got to arrest him now. Thank goodness we have this way of figuring out who's telling the truth. It's so stupid.
There's no place in Eastern thought for a physical resurrection. According to the Eastern worldview, the physical world is something to be denied and resisted and abandoned eventually.
And as I covered before, no, not really. It's more nuanced than that. And not every Eastern religion is the same. And not even Hinduism has same ideas. There's a lot of different versions of Hinduism, just like there's a lot of different versions of Christianity. So it's just one giant straw man. Keep on straw manning.
For the Eastern thinker, eternal existence is not about you living forever in a resurrected body. For the Eastern worldview, eternal existence is you ceasing to believe the illusion that you exist and you becoming lost in the energy that is God. So Eastern religions either completely ignore or deny the historical facts surrounding the resurrection of Jesus.
There are no historical facts. I've said that before, but it must be reiterated. The only thing that you know about Jesus comes from the 3 to 4-ish gospels that are in the book that you believe is true, that you're trying to use to justify your belief in the book that you know is true. Seems like a big old circle there.
Truth is whatever agrees with reality. Truth is whatever aligns with reality. According to the Eastern worldview, you are God, but you don't actually exist. You just think you do. According to the Eastern worldview, and in direct opposition to the observations of modern science, the universe is eternal. The fine-tuning of the universe is an accident. There's no difference between good and evil, right and wrong, cruelty and non-cruelty, and the historical facts surrounding Jesus' life and resurrection are ignored or denied. In your mind, does the Eastern worldview agree with reality?
Well, this is, and he keeps doing this. In your mind, how do you view this? What do you think about it? Well, that straw man construct, if I was to agree with you, no, it doesn't fit at all with reality. But it also doesn't fit with how it really is in reality in the first place. You didn't actually teach anyone what the Eastern people actually believe in their various different religions. You didn't even bother naming them. Now, granted, you have about an hour or so, maybe less, to do a presentation on different world religions. So that's not enough time to do a thorough comparative religious study, but at least you could have done the bare basic minimums of them. Here's some names, here's this, and instead of just, here's their hymns and here's their holy scriptures or vertas and what do they call it, and I can't maybe tell you all the things, but here's some sources about it, here's some resources you can look into, and I want you to actually be educated on it. I want you to actually understand it. I don't want to present it myself because I don't really understand it that well. That would have been a more skeptical stance to take, but as we've realized long ago in this series, Pastor does not know what skepticism is, or if he does, he's not using it now. He's just using apologetics, and a very watered-down version of apologetics at that. So, how we personally think about something doesn't make that thing true or not either. That's not a skeptical way of thinking. No, I don't want to say, look, do you think that my video is true? No, that's not enough. It's not just enough to yes, you should be thinking, is this true? But you need to go deeper than that.
Does it align with reality? In your mind, is the Eastern worldview the most plausible, more plausible at least than the alternatives? Only you can make that decision for yourself. You've got to be convinced in your own mind to some level of certainty. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's look at the final major worldview. The secular atheistic option says there is no God. The Eastern option says you are God, which brings us to the next blank on your outline. The biblical option says there is a creator God. There is a creator God. The biblical option recognizes the existence of a personal God, meaning a God with thoughts, emotions, and will, a God that communicates, a God that desires a relationship, not just some impersonal energy force. The biblical option recognizes that this personal God created the world. That means this world belongs to him. It's God's world. God designed it, God created it, God owns it. God's the one in charge of it.
Yikes. Yeah, that might be one version of Christianity, and as I've hammered before, look, one can believe in anything, no matter how ridiculous that belief is. And when it is a belief, it is a faith, and if you are saying, hey, look, this is just a belief, I don't have any proof of it, then I'm going to be like, all right, that's your belief. Maybe I have questions about it, but I'm not going to go after it. I'm not going to try to deconstruct it. I'm not going to pull it apart because it's a belief. having a non-belief, same thing. I don't believe in, whatever it is. Like, okay, that's weird, but what? Okay, sure, whatever, right? Let's say I don't believe the Earth is round. I think it's a square. Okay, that's weird, but whatever. That's a belief. It's not a statement of fact. But Pastor has made statements of fact again and again and again. He said not statements that are fact, but statements that he thinks are facts. Say, this is true or this is false. Now he's acquired the burden of proof. He now owns this burden to us to prove that his assertions are true. He's already strawmanned atheism. And then of course he strawmanned secularism as well and conflated it with atheism, which I don't know that that's really fair, because I think you could be secular and not necessarily be atheist, but what do I know? Then he strawmans the Eastern religions in full, and now we're finally getting to what he wants us to think Christianity or the Bible presents. The biblical view presents this. No, it's not the biblical view. It's your version of the biblical view, Pastor. You are one of many pastors out there, one of many philosophizers out there, one of many apologists out there, and each one has his or her own version of God and the way it works and the way Christianity works. And each are slightly different. Maybe you can find one that's exactly the same. It's possible, but you are more likely to find differences than you are to find those that have similarities. And even when you do, you will find something that they disagree with. Mark my words. Okay, so why is Pastor just saying this is what God is and asserting it without any proof? No biblical backing. He said this is the biblical view. Okay, then we would expect to have some verses. Here's where I wouldn't actually object to you having some verses that support this. God is personal. Really? According to what? So is he even going to do the bare minimum of that? No, of course not. That would be silly.
As your outline says, the world is under God's authority, according to this worldview. The world is under God's authority. And that includes moral authority. My wife and I raised 4 kids, and every one of the kids at some point in their life said, "You're not the boss of me."
But you made that kid, so you own that kid, using the same motif that we've already established for your God, which you didn't even back up at all with anything, even a little, but whatever. God made the world, so it owns the world. I don't know why creating something gives you ownership of it, but apparently it does. I mean, why not? And also God owns you, so you're God's slave, effectively. If you are owned by a entity, that's slavery. There's no way around it. That's what slavery is. So if we were to say, okay, we're going to use the same standards here as here. So you own your kids. You own them because you and your wife created them. She owns them. You own them. Maybe you own them a little bit less than her. Maybe she owns them a little bit more than you. Maybe it's equal. I don't know. But you own those kids. They are your property, and you can do with them whatever you want, and you are the ultimate authority. And so if they say you're not the boss of me, you can strap them down and begin torturing them forever and ever and ever because you own them. And that's morally acceptable. And you say, that's not fair. Well, no, but that's what God does. So actually, it's, if you reject God, if you object to God and say, no, God, you're not the boss of me, then God tortures you forever and ever and ever. But you wouldn't do that to your children, I would assume. So why is it okay for God to do it to its children? Because it's God. I'm not God. It's different with God. So it's special pleading.
Or they wouldn't say it to us, but they say it to each other. You're not the boss of me. Well, according to the biblical worldview, God is the boss of you. God designed this world. He created this world. He's the only one who has the right to define this world, meaning defining what is and what is not acceptable. Well, how does the biblical worldview respond to the four key issues we've looked at? Well, the biblical worldview provides a plausible explanation for the existence of the universe.
No, it doesn't. Not even a little. The Bible doesn't do cosmology. I guess you mean an explanation that God did it.
The existence of the universe, the contingent universe. It was created at the beginning of time by an eternal being that exists outside of space and time. Secondly, the biblical worldview provides a plausible explanation for the fine-tuning of the universe. This,
which I've already covered, isn't really even a thing, and apologists continuously and do this wrong. That the so-called fine-tuning isn't really even a thing. We only have one universe to look at. We don't have a data set to look at other universes and see how they would work. As far as I know, no one has done a computerized model that simulates the beginning of our universe up until now. Obviously, you'd have to fast forward time because you don't want to wait 13 billion years. But then to tweak the settings and show that the same simulator can do a different universe with different settings and see what happens there. Nobody's done that as far as I know. So there's zero data to then say, at least I've got this simulation that shows that under X, Y, and Z conditions, life would not even be possible at all. Not even it's not just our type of life, but any life. And here's the proof of that because I have these simulations. No, there isn't anything like that. And nothing like that is even attempted to be offered by apologists because they don't have it. Why not sink the money into the computer programs to do that? I don't know. Maybe they kind of know that if they did that time and energy, that they might actually come back with results that were against what they believe. Or maybe they feel like they have the philosophical proof so they don't need to waste that money. But they don't have proof at all. You can't have philosophical proof unless you have, I don't know, actual proof. Anyways.
This eternal being that exists outside of space and time designed the universe to produce and sustain intelligent life. Thirdly, the biblical worldview provides a plausible explanation for the existence of objective morals, values, and duties. Hope I'm not going too fast for you.
Oh, come
God
on.
himself is
Come on. What an insult to the audience. I hope I'm not going too fast for you. Oh, come on. But you've already said all this crap before, so please.
Grounding for all morality. God is good by his very nature. His nature is goodness. And whatever does not measure up to the standard of his nature is therefore evil.
Which, I mean, that's just, if you had presented that as a tautology, it would be at least decent. But you didn't. So let me do it for you, I guess. You know, that God equals the thing that's good. And so anything that isn't good isn't, but then isn't everything that's good is God? Or like, never mind. I can't make a tautology out of it. Forget it. Okay. But, well, I could, but I don't want to do it right now. My brain can't do it right now. Doesn't want to do it right now at any rate. Anything that isn't that is bad. Okay. Then how could God ever make anything that was bad or even had the possibility of being bad? Unless having the possibility of being bad is good. So it must actually be good to have a potential of failure. It must actually be good to be able to say no to what is good. Why is it good to be able to say no to what is good? And that's what we're told by apologists, and we've been told by this particular apologist at any rate, that free will is a necessary thing, that God has to give us a choice between choosing God or not God. Of course, then that gets conflated with, well, you have a choice to believe in God or not, which you don't. Well, because you don't decide how your brain decides what is true or not. It's a whole thing. So yeah, so the nature of God now becomes something unquestionable. It's right. God, you might as well say God is always right. And anything that God says is right. Well, but God said 5 + 5 is 1,000,000. Doesn't matter. God is always right. And so you can't question it ever. Okay, so that's the ultimate in authority. Not it's an unquestionable authority, and thus the ultimate in logical fallacies. Because just because you are in charge doesn't mean that you're right. And just because you said that you're right doesn't mean that you're right. And just because you think that you are always right or always good doesn't make that true. What we're told about God by apologists isn't what I recognize goodness to be. I don't recognize it to be good to indefinitely punish somebody for not believing that I exist, or for not following some rules that I put out. Let's say they do know I exist, but I said, do this rule, and they don't do it. Now I'm going to punish them forever unless they do this other thing that I want them to do. It is, again, bringing your kids into it, since you already brought your kids into it, Pastor. If your kids said, look, I'm not doing what you want me to do, I'm not going to go to my room. You can't force me to. Physically, you can't. You can yell. You can scream all you want, but I'm going to ignore you. You can take away things. You can turn off the power, whatever, but I'm going to sit here and protest, and I'm not going to do what you want. Okay, are you now going to take that kid to the edge of town and stone them to death? Because that's what you're supposed to do with the unruly child, is get them stoned to death. And that's a good thing, because it was ordered by a good God. But we don't do those things anymore. Why not? Maybe those ideas weren't good, actually. I don't know.
God doesn't measure up to a standard. He is the standard. He is good. And anything that doesn't measure up to his nature is therefore evil. The biblical worldview provides a plausible explanation for the facts surrounding the life and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, here is where the three biblical worldviews get narrowed down to only one. When it comes to Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, only one of these three provides an explanation that addresses all of the known historical facts surrounding the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And that.
Okay, so I guess we're not going to spend too much time strawmanning the Jews or strawmanning Islam. Kind of a disappointment, but also I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, what else did I expect at this point? He's been saying the same thing throughout. We've got all these historical facts. Then you didn't need to talk about any other world religion at all. You didn't need to bring them up. This didn't need to be a discussion. You've already decided that you're right and that you have facts. You don't have facts, and that everybody else doesn't have those, doesn't explain those facts or agree with it or whatever. But that's kind of the problem, isn't it? God apparently set up a system to where people could look at it and say, nah, we don't believe that happened. Or say, well, that's not what really happened. Or say, I don't know about that. That doesn't fit in my worldview that I've grown up with and had for, we've had in our family for centuries. So God put up a system that is flawed, but it must be a good system because God is good. So it's not a flawed system, it's a good system. And using humans who are flawed to transmit that system must also be good, even though it's flawed. And it makes no sense. Anyway, so Judaism. The Jewish people do not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. And they will tell you why if you ask them. And if you look at any Jewish website that explains Judaism even a little, you can find explanations probably of this just about anywhere. I can give you links if you want them. But regardless, Jesus did not fulfill the things that they were expecting Jesus to fulfill. That's one. The actual things that Jews were looking for, Jesus didn't do them. Then the Christians later, afterwards, who knows how long afterwards, added on to prophecy to say this and this and this verse are prophecies about Jesus. But the Jewish person says that's not a prophecy at all. Not about anybody, not even a little. Suffering servant's an example of that. In Isaiah, there's a suffering servant. But it's not Jesus. But it's like, well, but it sounds like Jesus. Sure, you could make the Jesus story sound like that and then claim that that was a prophecy. But the Jewish people never saw it as a prophecy. Wouldn't they know what a prophecy was or wasn't? Didn't God come to Abraham first to explain this stuff? You can't just wave away the Jews so easily. But unless you're this pastor, I suppose.
That one is Christianity. Judaism and Islam both acknowledge that Jesus lived. That's not denied. Both Judaism and Islam deny that Jesus bodily rose from the dead. However, neither provide explanations that address all of the facts of history surrounding the resurrection. Only Christianity meets that criteria.
Okay, so there's a fallacy here that I haven't brought up. Argument ad nauseum. It's the fallacy argument ad nauseum. Now, if you're not familiar with the argument ad nauseum fallacy, I'll tell you. The argument ad nauseum fallacy. There's an argument ad nauseum fallacy. It's called the argument ad nauseum fallacy. Now, maybe you want me to tell you what the argument ad nauseum fallacy, but I've just been explaining the argument ad nauseum fallacy by saying the argument ad nauseum fallacy in an ad nauseum way. Just repeating yourself doesn't make the damn thing true. I should say it again just to make sure, but I already did the jokes.
When you get right down to it, folks, the resurrection of Jesus is the litmus test. The resurrection of Jesus was the defining moment in human history. We are followers of Jesus for one reason. I am a follower of Jesus for one reason, because of the resurrection of Jesus.
No, not even a little. You didn't know about that supposed resurrection when you were, I don't know when you joined the church. I don't know. I'm going to guess, like most, you were introduced to the church at a young age, and then you made religion your own, and as you got older, it became, something that you really wanted to pursue, and you pursued it so much eventually you became a pastor. And now it's your living, it's what you make your money on, to keep saying that this is true. So you have a very vested interest in it. But you weren't presented with the facts of Jesus's resurrection. No, that's not how people convert into Christianity. They're not told, okay, sit down. Look, we found this paper and it's dated to such and such time. And it was found in this location by these people. In fact, long ago in this series, I complained that Pastor didn't bother to tell us when, where, and who found various different biblical fragments that we now have compacted into one codized Bible. Where was Mark found? Where was the letters of Paul found? Where was any of the writings found originally? What location? They were found somewhere. Where? Now, yes, I can look it up and find out, but that's not the point. The point is, pastors should be saying this. Why? Because he's saying it's part of history. So establish the history of it first. Then say, okay, here's this story that these things write about. Now we know where and when and who found these writings. Now we can look at what the writings claim. Okay, now we know the writings claim things happened. They claim that Jesus came back from the dead. Some of them do, some of them don't. In fact, the Gospels like some of them end before Jesus resurrects, and then as you get to John, it's like this, this weird kind of like thing of Jesus is kind of not doing too much miracles, and he's doing more in the next gospel and more in the next, and a whole bunch in John, and it just gets ridiculous. But if we actually focused on the actual information and actual reality of these writings, we might actually discover that there's an evolution of story going on, and that might bring us some doubt. And then that doubt might be bad because we would not believe these writings that we found that are thousands of years old. Or some of them are 600 years old, 700, whatever they're, Okay. How do you know that any of that happened? You don't. You don't know it happened. You know that somebody believed that it happened, or at least somebody wrote it down. You don't even necessarily know that somebody believed it. You just know that somebody wrote it down. But what you do is you say, well, now that we've got this writing and this writing and this writing, and this writing's older than this writing, but I'm not going to tell you the dates because I don't want you to know that, I guess. And they all talk about this Jesus guy, and these 2, 3-ish, talk about the resurrection, and then of course Paul comes in later, makes up a story that he also saw Jesus, so we're going to count him even though we shouldn't. And then they all seem to agree that these events happened, therefore these are now historical facts. If you did that with any other mythological book that's out there, that book would also become true. If you use the same methodology that is applied to the Bible to any other book of mythology, it would become as true as Christianity. No anything in actual historian sort of motif does what Christian apologetics do. When I looked up the embarrassment idea that apologists often trot out, that they wouldn't make up a story where the women reported it because that'd be embarrassing. The embarrassment criteria is only used for the New Testament. It is not used for any other historical narrative, period. But that's reality. And we can't talk about reality. That would make us doubt faith. That would make us doubt this sheet of paper that somebody who knows found at some point, don't know when, somewhere, that eventually we copied, translated into our language, eventually, made other copies of it, other versions, other translations of it, codified it, put it in a book, somebody published it, you don't even know who published the Bible probably, and then you're reading it and saying, that really happened. You don't have any idea that it is. And that's not how you're introduced to Christianity anyways. Don't pretend that it is. because Christianity is not brought about by factual evidence. It is done via indoctrination. This is true. Everyone just acts like it's true. You go to church, you hear the pastor talking, you sing songs, you pray, that's it. You don't investigate it at all at first. Maybe later in life you do, but studies have been done showing that atheists, more often than Christians, by a wide number, and I'll have to pull up those studies if you want citations. Let me know in the comments below when it's an actual video, not inside jet. I don't count that. That atheists know more about the Bible than Christians do. They know more about the history. They know about where it was located. They know more about Christianity than the Christians, because not only can you be intellectually lazy in Christianity, it benefits you to be intellectually lazy in Christianity because that fosters a belief in it. He didn't even bother with addressing the Jewish beliefs or the Muslim beliefs because he has decided that what is written in the Bible is already true, and his proof that it's true is the Bible. That's all we have here. Let's get back to it so we can be done with this video already. Oh my God.
It was the resurrection of Jesus that validated his life, that validated his authority. Jesus didn't just talk the talk. Anybody could walk around making all sorts of claims. And for thousands of years, religious leaders and gurus and pastors and priests and rabbis and imams and reverends have made all sorts of claims about themselves. Anybody can talk the talk, but Jesus walked the walk.
No, he didn't.
He said, "You can kill me and I'll rise from the dead." They didn't grasp it at the time what he was saying. But he
didn't really say that, though. That's the other thing. Now, at least, again, this is where you could actually use scriptures and I wouldn't be objecting. You're not even doing good Christianity at this point. This is pathetic.
Lived what he said he would do. His life and claims were validated by him rising from the dead.
No.
So we follow him. That is why, as his followers, we believe what he believed. We teach what he taught. We live like he lived, and we love like he loved. And when it comes to the Bible, Jesus believed, taught, and lived that the Bible is God's revelation to us. So as his followers, we believe the same. Why? Because he rose from the dead.
Wow, okay, so at this point, we've just discarded all illusion of being a course. This is a sermon. And I've mentioned the stupid booklet before, but I need to mention the stupid booklet again. It's a fill in the blank. It's a fucking fill in the blank. Pathetic. But he's called his course the skeptical course. So here I am. I've gone this far. I can't stop now. I have to see what the next video is going to be about. We're almost done with this. So let me just plow through it, and then I'll complain about the next one, I guess.
And so I believe somebody who can rise from the dead.
Why?
They have more authority than anyone else.
How does that work?
What sets Christianity apart is it is rooted in human history.
It's
not merely a collection of lofty ideas and fanciful legends. Christianity is rooted in space and time.
No,
it's
it's
rooted
not.
in historical events, real people who lived real lives.
Nope.
It's rooted in real people that you can read about in historical works, like the works of the Roman historian Josephus, where you read about Jesus, about John the Baptist, about Pontius Pilate.
Yeah. Josephus, who came years and years and years later after Christ wasn't around anymore, and whose writings, a large portion of them, were forgeries. Anything written about Jesus after Jesus supposedly was around who cares? Before, during, and immediately after Jesus' supposed existence, there's silence. Nobody says a damn thing about this guy. Nobody seems to notice him. Nobody says anything about him. There aren't any earthquakes. There aren't any lunar eclipses. Things that they say happen just don't happen. Stars don't freeze in the sky. None of it's supported by any external writings. Then later, you have people going, hey, there's Christians. And they believe stuff. Wow.
We even read about Jesus' brother James in this Roman history, written by a Jewish man. Christianity is rooted in real places like Jerusalem, Capernaum, Sea of Galilee. I'm taking 40 people from Broadway into Israel, into these places in about 3-4 weeks.
Woo! Okay, so that's another interesting point. Josephus, a Jewish person, wrote about Christ and all this stuff, yet, oddly enough, remained Jewish. Why is that? Oh, well. Anyways, he's going to take people on a tour of these places because now these places are tourist destinations. And so now, on top of all the other problems facing the skeptic, we have another problem to contend with: monetary gain. The people in Jerusalem, in that area, Bethlehem, all those different holy areas, make huge money. Come walk the walk that Jesus walked. $20. Come look at where Jesus was put on the cross. Watch our live show of Jesus's crucifixion. Only $15, $20, $30, $50, whatever. Buy some refreshments. Get some souvenirs. Look at the place where Paul was buried. Yes, he's under that church. No, you can't see him, but he's under there. Oh, and that church over there, totally has another disciple buried under it. Amazing. There's disciples buried under every church in that area. You can't see the corpses. You can't see the bones. You can't see the burial place, but totally trust us, they're there. They'll take you down maybe into a basement. There's some bars up, and you see something that's really old. It's like, yeah, in there? Yeah, that's the body of the guy. Yeah, okay, sure, why not? That'll be $30. Or maybe they just guilt you into giving them money. Whatever. But now there's a monetary reason for them to keep pretending that this stuff is real, even if they knew absolutely it wasn't. Well, now I'm getting money. Why would I? Why? I mean, I'm getting tons of money. It's like I did a video on the equator scams that are out there. There's people at the equator that have these bowls of water, and they go, oh, look, you can see the water swirls down one way, and then they bring it over the other side of the street, and it goes down the other way. And then they bring you to a different bowl and go, look, on the center, it goes straight down. But it doesn't work like that because it's too small of a body of water, and they're manipulating the water, and they're using special bowls, and they're doing other things that are fishy. And they do this because people pay them money. So they know it's a lie. They know it's a scam, but they want the money. And so here in Jerusalem, you go to these places in Israel, whatever, and maybe the people know it's a scam, but they want the money. Anyways, we're almost done.
where once again we will walk the land, we'll visit these sites. It's archaeological sites. It's in the land. It's there. It's undeniable. These aren't fairy legends. These are real places, historical events. Real places you can visit and see historical archaeological artifacts, traced to the very people and the very events you read about in.
What archaeological artifacts? You don't have any. You didn't mention them in your sermon. You didn't mention them in the past at all. You're still not mentioning what they are.
In the Bible. Christianity is not comparable to legends like Zeus or Thor or Apollo or Santa Claus or Bigfoot or the Tooth Fairy or the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Well, I mean, it is.
Christianity is the historical testimony that Jesus lived, died, and was raised from the dead. And this historical reality must be dealt with by any religion or any worldview to claim to be a true reflection of reality. Let me conclude.
And that's just burden shifting 101. It's your burden to explain this, not my burden to prove it.
We began this evening by pointing out that there is such a thing as objective truth. Truth is whatever agrees with reality. We've seen how the secular and the Eastern worldviews fared. What about the Christian worldview? According to the biblical Christian worldview, there is a creator God and this world is under his authority. And I would put to you that the creator God provides a plausible and rational explanation for the beginning of the universe, the fine-tuning of the universe, the existence of objective moral values and duties, and the historical facts surrounding the life and resurrection of Jesus. Now, that's just my opinion. So what about you? Do you agree or do you disagree? That's for you to discuss around your table for the next few minutes. I turn you over to your table leaders. Discuss this.
Well, we're done. We got through week 4. We didn't talk about the Jews. I was really hoping we would, but we didn't. So that was week 4. Where's week 5? Oh God, it's in here somewhere. Week 6. What does science disprove the Bible? Oh no. Oh no. I don't know if I can handle this, my friends. Science. Oh. I'm not a scientist. I need somebody that knows a lot about science to help me with this one. Do I? Probably not. Here's my predictions for next time. Oh no, the fine-tuning of the universe. Oh, the Big Bang. That's in the beginning. Also, science doesn't talk about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Question. Yes, let's pretend, just for a while, that Jesus came back. Okay, let's just pretend. Why not? Because that's what we're doing. How would we investigate that scientifically? Well, we can't because he's not around. But let's just pretend he was around. That would be cool, wouldn't it? That would be better proof. Just have this guy that's basically immortal walking among us. That would be pretty convincing to me. But whatever. Anyways, let's just pretend that Jesus is here. And we put him in a lab. We put controls and double-blind, triple-blind methodology in place. Whatever we got to do. We record it with videos and other monitoring equipment all over the place. We set it up. We've got him wired up for his brain waves and heart wave and whatever, and go, okay, now, Jesus, you ready? You signed the waiver. You agree to be killed for our science experiment. You're going to come back in 2 to 3 days. All right. And we kill you. Maybe we give you a lethal injection. Maybe we shoot you in the head. Whatever. Then we wait. Okay, it's been about 2 to 3 days now. And now, what happens first? Does the wound or the poison go away? Like, biologically speaking, what process is going on inside of this decaying body that begins to reverse itself? Is it a reversal of entropy? Meaning that the laws of physics themselves are being reversed? Or is it biology? Or is it a combination of both? Or would it be that our scientific instruments, no matter how good they are, simply couldn't detect what's going on in his body, but simply that he was dead one moment and then alive the next, within not even a microsecond between the two? We had a rotting corpse on our hands. Obviously, we'd be keeping it cool. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's alive. And our instruments don't show anything because just we would have a mystery. We'd say, we don't know what happened. But him coming back to life, even though it was mysterious and amazing, wouldn't mean that anything he said was true. He could claim anything he wanted to claim, and it could still be untrue. But I would like to know what's going on, scientifically speaking, during this resurrection process. But of course, we don't have a Jesus to examine, so all of this is, well, just speculation. I would like to do an experiment. What if we put Jesus in a giant furnace and we use Jesus and Jesus alone as the source of fuel for the fire? We light him on fire. I guess we have to put some lighter fluid on him or whatever. Obviously, the skin itself doesn't burn that well. Anyways, we light him on fire. Whatever we got to do that, okay? He's on fire. Now he is the sole source of generated electricity that we're using, right? Now, he dies. He turns into dust in there, right? But in a couple of days, he reforms again so we can burn him some more. Indefinite energy, infinite energy. That would solve a lot of problems. Jesus, why aren't you doing this for us? Now, Jesus isn't as spectacular as Wolverine is, because the same thought experiment done with Wolverine regenerates really fast, so he'd burn better and for indefinitely, whereas you have to wait 2 or 3 days for Jesus to come back to life. Wolverine is instantaneous. So you're always getting power with Wolverine, and with Jesus, you're getting power every 2 to 3 days or whatever. So it's not a very good source of fuel, but it's still indefinite, so it's still an improvement over what we have. So we should just send lots and lots of Jesuses. In fact, we could space it out. Every other day, we'd have a Jesus die on this day. We'd throw in another Jesus into the pit, and then we throw in a third one on the next day. That way we always have at least 3 Jesuses. We could do it with 3 Jesuses. We need 3 Jesuses. Look, that's all we need, God, to send us 3 Jesuses, and we've solved the world's power problem. Okay, maybe not, because, the human body doesn't burn that well. It only produces a limited amount. So we probably need more than 3 Jesuses, but it's a start, and I believe in it. I believe that it was happening. I wouldn't know why it was happening, but I would believe that it's happening, but we don't have that, because we don't have any proof at all that any of this actually happened, not even a little. There's no empirical evidence, no repeatable test, no valid and sound argument, just apologetics, just bad arguments. But we're going to see what science has to say about the matter, and I'm going to go completely insane during that process, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you'll like this comment, and you'll view this subtitle to the channel, and the book. I have a book if you haven't bought it yet, and then review it on Amazon maybe, because it has 1 review. I could use some more. That'd be nice if you read it. And then and then I was gonna do a thing with fish head salad, but we couldn't figure out what to do. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. And then the Yin Yang Mountains here, and other people in chat and stuff. And they said all these things in chat, and now I have to read it, but I can't read it because then I'm doing this video, and I have to press the button on the video so it's done, because then the next part's come up. We're going to do that. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Wow. All right, my head hurts. Yeah, that guy's an idiot, isn't he? Yeah. What? I'm still on? Ah, fuck.